Well, all right, here we are with another episode of Talk to the Doctor, and I just happen to be with Nathan Fletcher today in the studio.
You do.
Yeah.
We are.
Super awesome, man. Stoked to have you here. You know what I was wanting to get into is right before we started rolling cameras, we were talking about some pretty cool stuff. You asked me about my shirt. I said I got it in Greece, and then I said I might be going to Sardinia at some point around September, and me and my wife are going to go to, this island off the coast of Italy just to check it out, which brought up a subject of like energy. And like I told you, I really like to go places where they're not too pissed. That might be hard to do in this world today.
Yeah. I just, when you find a place, let me know. Seems like kind of the go-to spot if you're just trying to go through life happily, naturally, easily.
It can be tough. And like I told you, so much love for me there. And I've spent a lot of my life there. And I moved to Hawaii, but I did understand, there's an energy of people that grew up there and they're from there and they might be a little mad just because I was showing up and I was Caucasian or whatever. But I worked through that with them graciously through many situations. And it made me leave. When I did leave Hawaii eventually, I would always be looking for a place where when I travel, I look for a lot of things to be a place where I might settle. And I've never quite found it.
Yeah. I mean, it could be in your heart too, trying to find that spot as well instead of geographically, because it's out there in the world these days is kind of maybe different than what we knew it and
Definitely
different than what we're used to. So
how about you? Have you been I'm pretty sure you've traveled quite a bit in your life.
Yes, sir.
How about one question? Where would you like to go that you've never yet been?
Ooh, there's a lot of places. The one place I'd really like to go is India. I feel like you don't hear about it too much. I feel that a lot of coastline. Kind of not really a big surfer destination, but I think as far as coastline, surf, I don't think it gets big there, but I think must be some really good waves. And I think that be interesting to see the people there and how they live. And spiritually, I think that, people have been doing a lot of that kind of work for millennia or many of years. And I don't know, it just seems pretty cool. I know the Maldives is really nice. I see a lot of that.
You haven't been there yet?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. I've heard of some people that have, and I know that has like a Indian origin of base of culture, right? Yeah, it's Indian. I have looked into India quite a bit. I haven't been there. Did a lot of, at a certain stage of my life, I researched a lot of different things about, like, say, Buddhism or different Eastern religions. I went and chanted with the Hare Krishnas in Laguna when I was like 17, just because I knew they were vegetarian, and I was at the time. So
I remember those guys dancing around the streets a little bit.
Yeah, they were colorful. And I wanted to make sure how I felt about it. So my friend said, "Hey, you want to go to the temple in Laguna Beach?" And I was like, "Tell me more about that." And so he did. And I went, "Yeah, we'll go check it out."
Didn't they make the Hava chips too?
From what I know, they were the Hava chip people. Yeah. And that's, I think they've done pretty well with that. It's still
going
in the store.
Yeah.
Hava
Kind of cheap too.
Yeah, they're $5.
Yes,
I looked at it just the other night. I was looking at them going, and I would have bought them, but there was too many broken chips in it. So I was kind of bummed about that. But I love the way they taste. But yeah, funny that you bring that up, because that was just looking at that and thinking the same thing, going, man, these are like some of the original chips on the market from the 70s, I think.
And it was, what was it, just soy sauce?
What made it special is that little thing you get out of the soy sauce. Yeah. It gives you that like kind of like pop.
But it's not really a preservative like most chips.
No, I think that it's pretty organic.
Yeah.
I don't know if they used all organic, but I definitely think it's low chemical.
Yes. In a Doritos age.
Yeah. Which is just, one of the things I liked about when we were in Europe is they don't have GMO there.
It's so nice.
Oh my gosh. You look at ingredients of anything and there's like just stuff you understand what it is. Like there's like 8 ingredients instead of 50.
Yeah, I think they don't use the Roundup to make the flour and stuff too, because from what I understand, they spray the crops with Roundup here so it all dies at the same time. So it dries at the same time to make it easier.
My
and
gosh.
So I know that's one thing they don't have. So you can eat flour like bread and
which is proven, Roundup is proven to be pretty gnarly on the human being, or just on the planet, not even just the human. Right?
Yeah, it's amazing they're allowed to use it though.
Yeah, it's on any organism. It's poison.
Yeah, it's poison.
It's crazy. Yeah, but yeah, India sounds really interesting. I've looked at it quite a bit. I know there's a place called Goa that I've always kind of looked at. It was actually in a movie, one of the Matt Damon with the Bourne movies. One of them was actually based there. So I was actually stoked to see, another movie he did was Talented Mr. Ripley, and that was shot in a coast of Italy in an area called Positano, which is out in the Amalfi Coast. A lot of times I look at places, and then I try to find movies that were made there because it gives you kind of a channel in a little differently. YouTube videos. Yeah, you get the visual.
Yeah, what do you watch on YouTube?
I don't really watch a lot of YouTube, to be honest. I really like film. So I watch a lot of movies, and I watch certain TV shows that are on a little more on the intellectual side. So I used to watch a lot was Charlie Rose. He was a favorite talk show guy that he just really had this format where he sat at a black round table in a black room, and he talked to some of the most incredible people in the world. And you never knew where he was coming from. Like, you didn't know if he was a liberal or a conservative or a Christian or a Hindu, or you didn't know anything. He never divulged his opinion. He facilitated the conversation with whoever, directors, actors, athletes, politicians. Everybody came, and it was just on PBS. That's the kind of stuff I tend to put my time into, because a lot of programming is cheesy to me. But I pick my movies. Looking forward to a few that are coming soon. How about you? What are you watching?
I mean, I just kind of watch some YouTube, but just random stuff, kind of educational stuff, I guess would be. I watch this thing called Drumeo. Not even that I'm into playing the drums or have drums, but they make people do these, say some of the greatest drummers, and they make them learn somebody else's song that they've never heard. So it's really cool to see some drums. So music's always interesting. Watch some of the guitar stuff, drums.
That's really cool. Drumeo?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
cool.
They're kind of like drum nerds,
Yeah.
But I tend to like it. And then, yeah, different stuff on, obviously some stretching stuff. And, yeah, just different things where I feel that I'm learning something from it. It's kind of just odd stuff. But
awesome.
Yeah. And I watch a lot of travel stuff to, like you were saying, you see, but I like to, it'll say like the 50 things you don't know about the Philippines.
Yes. I watch those shows.
And then it's, drone and scenic visuals of the area, and the guy talks over it, and then it'll go from one spot to the other, and then it'll be like, just kind of educate you on the place, but you get to see it in, different places, or then some of the crime stuff.
Yes.
Narco stuff.
All of the above.
Yeah. So there's a lot of pretty good stuff out there. If, you can kind of search around. You're not so locked in. Because for me, sometimes movies, you're getting the director's
vision.
The director's vision, and there's a story, and then you're getting this information that's not necessarily. So some of the stuff that's just... just dry. It's not real punchy, but if you're looking at it in a different aspect, and obviously watch some surf stuff here and there. And then it'll be, like that stuff is like, the craziest waves ridden in 2024, or the worst wipeouts, or in some skate stuff. I like to watch skate stuff. And
YouTube's amazing for all that, right?
It is.
It's just like you can see one thing, and then all of a sudden you look to the side and it aggregates something else. You're like, click, boom, boom. All of a sudden you're down some pipeline. You didn't even know where you got there, but it was cool.
Yeah, or just even building stuff, or I don't know, just different people. Watch, certain things on certain people that you're like, whoa, that was fascinating,
Stuff I didn't know I was going for typically is where I end up. That's why when you ask me, I'm not really sure, because most of the time I get on YouTube, I end up somewhere I didn't know I was going. I love that freedom of it.
Yeah. I just trip because, I'm not a big TV person, but the amount of information on there, it's like, if you want to rebuild your radiator in your car, you're like, how to build a radiator, and so, or like, where's the fuse box, certain stuff like that. And then I don't know. It's pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
How
Like
to fix your own stuff videos on there
Yes.
is absolutely incredibly
Yeah.
educational. Yeah, and so helpful.
It's amazing how many people have uploaded stuff too to,
Oh, the
that
numbers
it is
are-
helpful.
It's insane.
So it's like it's a self-driving machine that's totally, self-fed, and it's interesting that you can get so much out of it. But on that note too, it's like, how about this AI stuff?
Whew. AI brings up a whole new whole vibe, because the more I talk to people, you see pros and cons. Like I've watched 2 or 3 specials on like 60 Minutes where they were talking to the head guy at Google, or every head guy that I've seen in an interview is warning us, and they're
Just
the guys
worried.
behind us. Yeah, they're the biggest wigs in it
Yeah.
are telling us we might have 5 years before it comes to take us. And I'm like, you guys are the ones inventing it. What do you mean? And they're actually the most worried guys. Excuse me. They're the most worried guys. And it's like, well, I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. I don't really need it. Like I would be over it.
Yeah, this technical age has gone way too far, but it's unstoppable. And so it's interesting. You're like, oh gosh, because the reason I say that is just like talking about, YouTube and how it's a self-driving machine. Like they didn't have any videos, and every single person who's uploaded something, it's on there for our help or, for our enjoyment. And then you see these people with that Chat GPT and, what that's done, and then like where it's going. And like you said, it's just like really worrisome, because it's going to just take off and drive itself. And once it's driving itself,
Exactly what they said.
yeah, nobody's going to be able to stop it. And then our jobs, these jobs, this guy's job over here, you know what I mean? It's just...
It's threatened by the AI platforms. And the thing is about it is what they were saying. Different, like I've listened to 2 or 3 of the biggest wigs in the whole AI thing. I don't even remember their names.
Yeah. They don't even have a name.
They kind of did, but they were like, kind of had like Indian long, like a couple of them were like, just whatever, nothing against anybody. I'm just saying that they were really intelligent about
They
it.
were smart people.
Really smart about it. And their concern was that it will, as it keeps feeding its, it's like picks up momentum of intelligence. And then even as we speak, it's like you can see where it's getting so smart that it can, it can feel like it can't feel, but it can almost present as if it could.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's another thing too, and in my opinion, is like surfing. Going back to that spot in life, I feel like surfing's the only spot where you go and you have to cut off all that stuff. So, like if you do anything else, you can always have your phone and get a text message, or if you're never really disconnected. And so what I've noticed is surfing, you can't bring your phone in the water. You're totally disconnected, even if it's for an hour or 45 minutes. And it's pretty interesting how the world's evolving, but maybe surfboards are evolving, but it actually makes everybody in the water and yourself as well not be able to check your phone, not be able to pick up a call, not check a text message. And I just think that that's one of the greatest things in this day and age, is being able to truly disconnect. Even like snowboarding, you have your phone in your pocket, you can listen to your phone, or you can listen to your music and all these things. And it's interesting how, and then going to body surfing hasn't evolved, won't evolve. That's like all it is. Totally pure. And so, it's pretty interesting how surfing, the boards are still evolving, the wetsuits, whatever, and body surfing is just totally that's it. You're totally disconnected. And so it's interesting because I feel like it's really hard for people to let go, myself as well. And, because, who knows who's calling? It could be your kids, your mom, it could be your boss.
They got a hook in us.
Yeah, and so it's all, then once you call, then you check Instagram and you're like, oh, wow, I got 5 new messages. Great, who's this? And then it's like a bunch of...
It's a pipeline.
Yeah. And so...
and it's strangely addicting to people. I mean, I'm blown away by what it's done in our society in the last decade. I know it's longer than a decade, but actually in the last decade, I'm sociologically blown away by what I'm personally experienced as a human being who loves to talk with people. Yes. I'm a people person. I'm very much a person who really engages with people.
Yeah.
And everyone's like...
But it's
It just
trippy too is that they give you all this information. It's just made everybody so scared. So they're giving it to you to help you, so you shouldn't be as scared. But it's almost like had a reverse effect because they feed you so many different angles and information that, like, oh no, I saw that. Oh no, you can't do that. Oh, you can't go over here because this might happen.
Information overload.
Yeah, so it was for your benefit, but it's actually the information's definitely harmed people. I feel like instead of the bliss of ignorance, the confidence,
the simplicity.
Yeah, just going with no thought, no understanding, and just doing it because you can do it, or whatever happens. And we were even saying it the other day. It's like, how'd you get places before you had maps and all that? It was like, well,
you mean maps on your phone?
Yeah,
yeah.
Or it was all
you felt your way there.
You felt your way there. You went, and you stopped, and you got a map at the gas station, or you had a Thomas guide, and before you left, you had routed out, and
I did all
and
that.
Then, of course. And then it's like if there's a problem, you'd pull over to use a payphone and call, and I don't know. It's just pretty.
It's a big shift.
Well, like my kids will never know. A lot of the kids don't know
that world,
and it was like wasn't that bad.
Actually, it was beautiful. It had its beauty, but it also, when I think about it, certain times I ventured off as a kid. I started traveling at 14 I had no money, and I would just stick my thumb out, or I would get on my bicycle and ride to, I've done long bicycle rides where I rode like across the United States on a 10-speed, or I rode around the state of California on a 10-speed. No money. Like I left San Clemente the day after high school graduation with me and my friend Tim Powers. We rode 10 speeds up the coast to Monterey, through Big Sur to Monterey, and then turned in and went to Yosemite. Camped in Yosemite, just like didn't have anything to carry, just like a sleeping bag, had it all strapped to our bikes. Just camped there for 4 nights and rode back down through the Grapevine. Did the whole thing in 3 weeks on under $200. No maps, nothing. Just feeling our way through it. But if something happened to us, people might not have known.
There was no map on that either.
It's like, I know that, my parents would be like, kind of always felt a little insecure because I'd be caught off on these wild adventures. And a couple times I did come so close to death that if something happened, who would know? So, I get it. Like now we have these phones and our kids call.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to everything, but it's just interesting how we've seen these pros go so far that it's
become the cons.
Yeah, it's become the cons.
A lot. And like when I'm dealing with people in society now, I'm feeling that there's always this anxiety, like they're twitchy to like, if I'm just see someone somewhere and I'm kicking into a minute of like, what you been doing, mister, whatever, sister, mister, whatever. And I just feel like within seconds they get twitchy and want to check their Instagram, or they're just can't really just, engage. I'm not saying can't or never do, but the amount of people that I feel are twitched into their phone just blows my mind. No one's really looking at each other.
Yeah.
They're all like, so we're not really engaging with people as much. And this part of what I like to do with my show really is take some time out. And like you said, even with surfing, you get to take time out and click into a more pure space in the here and now. And that's kind of cool with what we do at Talk to the Doctor. It's like a time to chill and chat with people, see what's up, and it's what I feel like we're able to share that way. And so just being able to do that with you is cool because I haven't seen you in a while and haven't talked much, and here we are doing it. And I feel like that's...
I'm thankful. So thank you.
I'm thankful too because I really appreciate it. I've always, we talked about it earlier, I've literally known you since you were, I don't know,
I'm
really
going to
young.
say 40 years.
40 years.
Yes. I'm 50, so...
Yes, I've known you since you were like 10 or 11.
Yeah.
And always really...
Give or take a couple months.
Yeah, give or take a couple months. And like I remember you very well at that age. I have memories of seeing you and talking with you and how just always thought you had a really cool vibe. Like you just really have this... You always have had this warmth about you. And I appreciate that.
You.
I really do.
Try and be a happy person. Really just grateful for, my life. Definitely pushed it to the edge a few times here and again and lived to tell the tale.
Yeah.
So
many different periods of my life where I remember seeing you. Like we never ran together, we kind of run in different packs or whatever, but I've always known you and we've always kind of clicked in, and I've always kind of just dug where you're coming from, what I wanted to ask is who would be your top 5 favorite surfers of all time?
My top 5?
Yeah, just I don't know. I'm always interested to hear like from different people who they kind of.
I would have to say Tom Carroll's pretty much the pinnacle of just gnar, the pinnacle of rad, pinnacle of genuine, and always really liked Tom Carroll's style and the way he's approached his life and the people around, the way he's treated me, the way he's been into his equipment, where he's at in his life now. He's just such an inspiration as far as how to get old, how to stay stoked and just rip and never really let it go. Never not have enough time to talk to you. Always be real dear and genuine, super cool to the kids. And, I really admire Tom Carroll. And obviously, like a guy like Buttons, who was equally as genuine, definitely had his own struggles with himself as far as, in life. But always loved Buttons. He was just so cool and kind to me and everybody around, and him being Buttons, and then what he did on his surfboard and his his dexterity, or whatever you would call that, however you would get to be the guy, the way he looks at a wave. Buttons is always right there. And those two are pretty iconic to me. They're a little obviously in a different generation to me, but they're the generation of like who I looked at when I was really young and just couldn't believe it. Always loved what my brother did. Really, understood it because I was around it. My brother was supernatural, and I say this, but like saw him do a backflip on a BMX bike when he was 12 years old before I ever had seen anybody, or I don't know if he'd seen anybody, do those kinds of things. And skateboarding, just saw him do so many different things that were just out of this world. And he obviously let certain things get to him in his life to where he kind of detoured from the path of like pursuing his greatness in a sense. But when he was at his peak and his prime, and I think some anger issues got a hold of his best. But definitely my brother was, and Archie. Always loved watching Archie surf because his raw power and speed and his humbleness, like on land, and just who he was. Got to see him a lot growing up. Got to be, good friends with him and watch what he did. And, just at Backdoor and from 204 to Backdoor.
Totally.
So that was always really cool. And then I'd have to say like Martin Potter too, because he was, in that Tom Carroll era, but how fast he was, and, how he laid it on rail, and he was always really cool as well. But, Martin Potter always stood out to me. So I think that's around 5.
Yeah, that's 5. That's an iconic 5. Really cool. That's why I like asking different people, different eras, different generations because even nowadays.
And there's 50 more that you can,
50 more. Yes.
So
it's hard to say top 5. It really is.
It's hard to say top 5. You can't really say top 1, but there's, there's people that have come through, obviously like another person, just Jerry Lopez, in the fact of the way he is. But when I look at Jerry, my dad as well. So we're just going to go with my dad too. But
absolutely.
But the way Jerry Lopez has worked his life and how he's aged.
Top 5 can become top 10 in 2 seconds. You know what I'm saying?
But the way he took care of himself, he really worked on his body a lot. And
especially his limberness, right?
Well, yeah, we'll say limberness, his mindfulness, his postures, and his breath. And it's not something that you really look at as a kid, but I do remember being at G-Land, like with those guys when I was 12, and watching them stretch, and then, not really paying too much attention, but having it be back there in the mind. And then where I see him at today at 76 years old, and what he's doing compared to everybody else, where he's, he can fly around the world, he's surfing, he's foiling, he's kiting, he's stand-up, whatever he wants to do for hours at a time. He's going to Mexico, he's flying to Oregon, he's snowboarding, and
at 76.
Well, yeah, so the quality of his life is,
cool.
And then if you see him and the stuff he can do with his body and how strong, and then, the smile he carries. So there's different ways to look at people. And so now being a 50-year-old and looking at a 76-year-old, you're like, geez, that's not too far away. And then,
Totally.
so, I really admire the way Lopez has worked on himself to be able to enjoy this part of his life, because 76 isn't that old. But if you don't start working on yourself at 40, 30, then it's, once you get to 60, it's kind of too late. But if you start, you know what I mean? So
I do.
So he's obviously,
if anyone does, I do.
Yeah. So he's not like surfing the best he's ever surfed, but he's surfing for 5-6 hours at a time, and he's surfing great for his age, and he's not complaining about his back and being able to ride an airplane, and because 76 can be miserable.
Totally.
So you look at somebody who's enjoying themselves, and you look at somebody who's sitting there complaining about how shitty they feel,
because what they did to their body put them in a state of pain all the time, because
or what they didn't do,
what they didn't do.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's like, it takes a lot of work and
an investment in time.
Yeah, and it's not just surfing. And so looking at Lopez, and then that being said, Michael Ho's right there too. He's just like the king of Nar, and
still.
Yeah, so
it's just incredible.
He's 67, and so they're all role models as far as, if you can take a little bit from each one, but you just don't want to be stagnant. So, and I would say, watching the kids and the heirs and all that, it's just mind-boggling watching it go from what it was to what it is and how it's been going. So,
yeah, and especially how your brother was kind of like so instrumental in that movement. We were talking about it the other day. But how about anyone of today? Like anyone of today, you mentioned the kids and the heirs or whatever. Anyone today that you know of that you'd be like, KV, keep your eye on this kid, or I always ask.
Well, I've been saying that about Al Cleland for years, since he was 10, 11 years old. I'm friends with his dad and stuff, and that's been a really cool story to watch. He's a good friend. I'm friends with his dad, and got him on vans when he was a little kid, and watched him come, from Tecumseh, and just slowly and persistently just keep climbing the ranks. And so it's pretty cool to see him on tour. We were there on Natural Selection when he found out that he got on the tour, and it was a pretty big deal. But if you notice, it's like one of the great stories of the tour. They're claiming it, he's doing it. It's that's been really cool to see. And
is he the only Mexican so far? Is he the first Mexican that made the tour?
I'm not a stats guy. I
don't remember one.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't remember one. I mean,
but just because I don't remember doesn't mean it hasn't happened. I'm not sure.
I know, me neither. Yeah,
I would hate to
say that and be wrong.
Well, yeah, but
I just don't remember if there was one. But then if there was one, sorry, I'm saying I don't remember you because
But at the same time, like, they never wore the. So this is an interesting thing that, in my opinion, is, maybe it's just in the recent years, but it wasn't like you're from here, we're from there. I obviously the Aussies and the Americans and the. But it wasn't like you went down to the beach and waved a flag around. It was the greatest part was they're surfers. We're all surfers, and so it's like a unity. But now it's like you wear your flag. You're from this country. It's like you're from that country, and I feel like it's kind of gotten away from the fact that like it's such a bigger group or something. Where now it's like, oh, we did it for our, oh, we raised our flag. Oh, So it's kind of weird to me.
Kind of nationalism in surfing.
Yeah, well, they've created it, and it's ironic how it's really caught on. But before, you never wore your flag on your sleeve. It was more like, oh, you were just with this group. Not that I was ever on tour, but I just didn't feel like it was so Brazilian, American, Australian. It was more like, oh, we're all surfers.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think the Olympics might have contributed to that to some degree, because now we have a platform for surfing that is purely national. You are surfing for your country.
100%.
Like before, I mean, I guess there was contests where they did that, but.
So I'm going to go as far as saying this too. The Olympics,
lay it out there, mister.
The Olympics is like the biggest scam in the history of all sports, or the biggest scam in the history of history. But I'm not saying that, the surfers are any part of it, but The problem, in my opinion, with the Olympics is they charge $7 a person to go on Peacock and stream this, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like $7 to get Peacock to be able to watch the Olympics.
Ah, because I watched a lot of it on. They split it between network and then Peacock. So I don't know if I saw Peacock, but I did see some of the track on.
Okay, well,
you're talking about for surfing?
No, I'm just talking about for the Olympics.
Oh.
Whatever, however you got to get to see this is
Okay.
from what I understand. Maybe it wasn't even $7. It could have
Well,
been.
it could have been, but I know they split it. You know.
Then you've worked your whole life to be able to get to this point, to get on this team, to go to these Olympics. You know?
Yeah.
And we're not amateurs we're talking about. This is like your whole life. You're the best in the
You're
world.
the best at what you are.
Right. And so then the Olympics gets you and, televises it, makes a big deal. You wave your flag. You have the intro ceremony. It's just this whole grand ordeal. And then say you do good. You might even, be in the top 5 of whatever your sport is, which is huge. I guess it's top 3 because it's gold, silver, and bronze. So we'll just go to the top 3.
Yeah.
But, the Olympics, nobody gets paid. And I just feel like it's such a letdown to work your whole life to get into this thing. Without the athlete,
There's no thing.
there is no Olympics.
Right.
And then it's the only thing where people are just so stoked they get in there to not get paid. And it's like they should at least get some percentage of whatever.
Of the Peacock $7.
Yeah, 3 billion people tuned into these things. You know what I mean?
$7 a head. Okay,
and
do
with,
the math.
Yeah, with no, there's
No payout for the athletes.
Yeah, and it's like you
Someone's
might get
killing it.
You might get it for your sponsors, or you might get some sort of benefit there.
Yeah.
But you have to ride for a Red Bull or something where it's in your contract to say that you did this. And so the scam of all scams. I mean, doesn't that seem weird that every other thing, if you do good in it, you get paid for your efforts?
Is that true also of the X Games? Do they get paid?
Well, I mean, think about the X Games.
I don't know a lot about
Well, the
the
X Games is like...
It's mini Olympics.
Well, it's just so small. So I don't know. I don't know about the X Games.
It's definitely not as big as the Olympics, right? Yeah. But do they get paid? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know about that, yeah.
We'll have to look into that, but we're not talking about the X Games, okay? We're talking about the Olympics.
Which is the biggest one.
It started in Greece or whatever,
Yeah,
No
one gets paid.
It just seems weird to me. And so it's
someone's making a lot of money.
Somebody's making a lot of money.
On the backs of these people's lifetime dreams.
A lifetime dream.
And the emotion of holding a gold. Like, that's the emotion.
But is it even gold?
Huh?
Is it even gold?
Oh, the medal?
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
How could it be? It's like huge. Yeah.
But I mean, it's the Olympics. Why wouldn't it be?
Whoa.
So you're holding like
A fake
fool's
gold.
So
it can't be totally gold because if the
I mean,
price
look
of
at
gold
the-
at $3,000 an ounce. Okay.
But look at
Those
a
things are
rapper's
like-
necklace.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're buying it just because, or who knows if it's LeBron. I mean, Snoop Dogg. I don't know. Somebody. They got big gold medallions. Let's just shrink it down a little bit. Let's make it gold. You know what I mean?
Real gold.
It doesn't have to be 6 inches in diameter. It could be 3 inches in real
But
gold.
real gold.
Yeah.
Because then you actually get like that thing's going to be.
I mean, it should be a $100,000 medallion.
It should be at least that.
That's what I'm saying.
For the
It's
gold.
the Olympics.
For the gold.
Yeah.
You know, 100,000.
Let's put $100,000 into that. I mean, $100,000 chunk of gold with a little, Signia.
Little logo on there.
Yeah, a little logo, and you're off.
You're off to the
At least you
races.
have something.
Yeah, that's an interesting point
I
of
mean,
view.
the bronze one's going to be cheap.
Which even now, that bronze, people are, ripping off wires out of buildings just to get the bronze. Or no, that's copper. Oh, that's
That is copper.
That's copper, yeah. So
that's your catalytic converter or something.
yeah.
But anyways, just think. So if you won the gold in 1980, it's only went up in value.
Oh, wouldn't that be if you still had it?
Well, you're not going to get rid of your gold medal, are you? If
I
you're
don't know.
Mary Lou Retton and you got the thing hanging on the wall.
I don't know. There might be a day when you need a couple bucks and maybe you sell your medal. I
But
think
at
some
least
people
it's
have done that.
inflating. At least
Yeah,
it's growing
that's a
in
good
value.
idea, yeah. Well, yeah,
So-
because I remember when gold was like $300 an ounce and everyone was tripping on that. Now it's 3,000.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But it's taken how long for that? Because
long time, yeah.
a long time.
Yeah.
So it's really not. It's not like.
Well, that's an
Crazy.
interesting
It's
perspective.
not
on
like
the Olympics,
crypto.
for sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Or you saw that in weeks or months or
Sometimes,
a
yeah, it
year.
goes through phases. We do a show here at Twin Palms Entertainment. We do a show called Crypto Posse, And we talk all, it's just 4 self-taught guys that just rap out about crypto. It's totally just whatever, right? But yeah, that's a very volatile world. And gold, however, I think is gold because it's kind of the gold standard of the whole monetary system to some degree. It has bases around the value of gold. Whether we're backed by it now or whatever, it's still a solid state metal that you can't deny.
Right. So the Olympic medal should be out of gold.
I agree.
Maybe not. I don't know.
No, I agree. That's really interesting stuff. A very unique perspective on the Olympics in terms of questioning things.
Yeah, and I'm a true backer. I think the Olympics is great. I love athletes to be athletes. I think that to strive to better yourself, to better the sport, to put yourself in those positions, and if it's. But then they say, oh, no, they're amateurs. But, like...
They're the best in the world at what they do.
But it's like when they got the basketball team, those guys were not amateurs.
Yeah. Know what I mean? I always tripped a little bit on that. Yeah.
So it's...
Like with track, because I grew up running track, it's a kind of a thing I've always been into. Those are I don't care where you go, it's the fastest man in the world.
Yeah.
The dude who wins 100 meters, it's the fastest man in the world. 3 times in a row, I believe Usain Bolt won.
Yeah.
Like I study form in that, and I mean that man's form is just my gosh.
Outside of the Olympics, is there a market in track? Say it's Usain Bolt, but he didn't make it to the Olympics. Does that guy get paid by sponsors and live a good life, or does he work a side job or a day job and then runs at night, or you know what I mean? Because that's a whole nother thing too. Is
track stars struggle because track isn't necessarily the most commercialized sport. I mean, it's really
that's what I'm saying.
Like I watch track meets throughout the 4 years that isn't during the Olympics. Like I watched actually the track meets, but so I just love the sport. But I mean, they're struggling because there's not a big venue. They don't have a big audience.
Yeah.
It's like who really watches it, People who ran track maybe watch it, but it's not really that,
That's what I'm saying.
They don't make a lot of money. They have sponsors. There's not a sport that pays them.
Right. And then you get to curling. You know what I mean? So I don't know any curlers.
I don't know any curlers, but we didn't grow up. That was probably if you're from like Norway or somewhere.
Yeah.
You probably know a curler or two. But
you might even
curl.
You might even brush the path.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's an interesting thing to talk about, like with amateur sports versus pro, and then they're in the Olympics and who's best and who's worse. But what I like is the respect that you have for the athletes. But it's not really their fault, what's the system of the Olympics.
No, that's what I'm saying.
They're just getting robbed.
Yeah, so that's the whole point. Like, being a surfer, you're not learning how to communicate and send emails and do business and like all these things. You're learning how to surf. So it's hard to, like, in this day and age, to be like, oh, I made this much money, I surfed this much. It's like now they have managers and nutritionists, coaches, all these things. So
yeah, I mean, it's what I recently saw that thing you did. I don't know how I even saw it. It was called Natural Selection.
Yes.
And we were talking about Alan Cleland, and he was on that. And all of a sudden, I came on it somehow. I don't know how it hit my feed, but like we were talking earlier, stuff shows up on your screen. You don't know how you got there, but all of a sudden, I'm watching it, and you're on the boat, and I didn't know much about it. I don't even know really much about it, but I thought I'd touch base with you on that because that seemed like a cool format.
Natural Selection was really an insane event, and it's definitely people's, it's kind of like a dream event that people thought up of. And it's Travis Rice's program, who's a snowboarder, and he was just trying to make the best event for the athletes, and it was based off progressive surfing in waves of consequence. So I think it was 8 men, 4 women. So the women started in a semi and started in a quarter, but
and everyone's on the boat.
Well, everybody's on the boat, yes, to surf in the heats. We stayed at a resort, and we'd get on the boat. And
where was that?
It was at the Buran Island,
somewhere in the South Pacific or something. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Pretty a little bit off the beaten track, I would say.
It was well, that was the thing, like you were saying in the beginning, how you wanted to go to a place where they didn't have maybe hostility towards your race. But this was like, how do you go block off a surf spot and not bother anybody and have it be a wave of consequence? So you had to go so remote to be.
And they did.
To not have to deal with the locals. And
they pulled it.
Oh, they pulled it, yeah.
It's in the middle of nowhere.
It's in the middle of nowhere, and it was, obviously a crazy wave.
It did look like a good wave.
Yeah, good, gnarly, really gnarly, and
In the sense of that it
consequential.
dumped on the reef and it was fast and it was dumping
Yeah.
and you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, it was quite the effort if somebody got hurt. And actually, after the contest, Jason Murray hurt himself on the boat, and it turned into a big ordeal.
On the boat?
Yeah, he broke his foot.
Oh, just on the boat. No
Going
one
over
got hurt.
top.
No one got hurt in the water.
No.
Oh boy.
But it was, it was definitely,
And then
watch
to
it.
get him to a hospital or something?
Oh, it took him days.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So,
Well,
but it was
fortunately, no one got hurt on the reef,
yeah, it was definitely, Travis Rice's idea. He's doing, obviously, the snowboard events, natural selection, but then it's been 5 years, I think, and now he wanted to branch off. So this year he did a mountain bike event, surf event, a ski event, and then the snow event.
Sick.
And just trying to really not change competition completely, but make it like the best visual experience for the viewer and the best experience for the athlete, and to really raise, competition and or what the standards are as far as like condition based. So,
Gosh, I was really blown away by what I saw. I really liked it. I don't think it'll necessarily, change whatever they're doing, like say on the WSL, but just to show a different vision.
Yeah, I don't think it was to change the WSL. I think it was just to give other people a chance and make them have some great experience, but also for the viewer,
It worked for the viewer.
Yeah. So.
I was really stoked on what I saw. Just really, because I know Noah. So for me, all of a sudden, I was like, and I know you.
Yeah.
So I'm like sitting there going, all of a sudden I go, oh, what's this all about? And then I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
And it was just cool to see it in that sense unfold before my very eyes and have that visual experience.
Yes.
Which I thought was very pleasant. I love to be in remote places like that. So I felt that feeling.
Yeah.
Of not just driven by commercialism, and really driven by more of the pureness of the experience for both the surfer and the audience.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
It was definitely a blessing to be a part of it.
I was going to ask you, I have this idea about idea about the judging aspect of surfing. I ask everyone about this. It's just an idea I have. Never heard it mentioned before, so I would say I fomented the idea. I don't want to take credit for it. I just never heard it from someone else. I'm not regurgitating something I've heard before. Just something in my mind when I watch surfing, and I feel like what I would ask is, so the judges are watching a heat, and when they collectively know the score you need, because they have that information, it feels to me like there's a chance that could be a little bit now tapped into their biased human emotion. If we were to take that out, my idea is to say, what if the judges were in a sequestered box?
I think they are on the WSL.
But they know the collective score, and they know what you need. And if they didn't know that,
somebody can always count the cards.
But if they didn't, just hypothetical, if they didn't know that, and they looked at every wave only as the performance on that wave, and that's it. There was no like, oh, he needs a 6.7, and they know he needs a 6.7. If they somehow, it may not be possible, like what you're saying, it could be a totally funky idea that could have no legs under it. But what if there was a way they could not have any collective knowledge of your total score, and they just looked at each wave and just judged it based on that?
I think that's the goal, but I've done a little bit of judging in the recent past, and what I felt has worked, and that was, the judging was totally different on natural selection too. That was just based off of, there was no scores. It was just who ripped the hardest. And so between Ian Crane and Brad Gerlach and Pam Burge, it's just common knowledge, like who surfed better.
Those were the judges on natural selection.
Yeah, but there was no scores given.
There was no numbers.
No numbers.
It was just like
who ripped the session.
It was, and that's obvious almost every time.
That's the whole point. And so they took notes, and that was a really cool way of doing it, because being a surfer and watching surfing your whole life, you kind of know, and especially between three great surfers, it's hard to fool them.
So Brad, Pam, and who?
Ian Crane.
Oh, Ian was there. Cool.
Yeah. So that's one way to do it, which I thought was genius. Another way, like with Stab High, is you're like, okay, this person has that, but you're kind of talk and communicate and be like, this guy has that, so was it better or was it worse? And you're like, okay, blah, 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 blah. and between a couple people, your personal
consensus.
Yeah, the consensus, but your personal feeling towards maybe that person gets taken out of the way, and you're just judging off of like, okay, like how did he surf on that wave, and should the score be higher or lower than so-and-so's? Then it's in a mutual agreement, and you kind of reverse, like on the last stab, we were, reverse engineering it to where you're like, okay, he got this, it's out of 50. So homeboy got a 42. Was this better or worse? And so then you're like, okay, he needs, because it's 5 judges up to 10. And so you're like, okay, you give him a 6, we'll give him 2 7s and an 8. And then, or I think it was 4 judges, 5 judges. But then you go back, and that's how you get your 43, because you needed to be at least 1 point higher, because you don't want it to be a 50.
Yeah, because there's nowhere to go from that.
So, yeah, there's nowhere to go. But it was just kind of like, okay, so if to get a 43, we need to do bam, bam, and bam. And so it seemed to be pretty fair. But we did, there was one judge that kind of was like a wild card. And there were some rough calls made because he wasn't,
He seemed like he was a little off point.
Not off point. He was just having his point be heard, because, which was understandable as well too. And so
he was throwing his weight around a little bit, or, I mean,
no, he just didn't like
judging panel.
What?
Were you judging on that?
I was.
Okay, yeah.
I was the head judge.
Holy head judge.
So,
wow. Okay, head judge at Stab High.
Yeah, and I mean, I've went to all the Stab Highs, and so it's it was a different way of getting to scores, but it was almost like reverse engineering. It's like, okay, if this guy got a 43 and he did this, and we had video playback, and we had to check out the landing and the height, and it's in the wave pool, so you could see exactly how high, how the controlled, what the grab was.
Total analytics on
so weird. So it's kind of hard to come up with just a score. So you're like, okay, then you'd compare it to so-and-so's in Heat 1 who did the exact same maneuver, and we already given him this. So you're like, it can't be that, or it has to be that, or a little more than that, because he did this, this, and this. So this number 2 stuck it better, went a little bit higher, because just by looking at it, you're like, oh, they did the same maneuver. But you're like, okay, you're looking at his height, his landing, his ride out,
I mean,
all
a lot
these
to be
things.
said for video playback.
Or
right?
He got more inverted, and so you're like, okay, it has to at least be a point or 2 more than this guy's 42 or whatever the score was. And so then you're like, okay, to get this number, one judge has to be here, this judge has to be there. And so we had kind of like, we're using it like we're all one, because we'd conversate and go over the video playback. And so that was a different way to get to these numbers, which was also fun being a judge, because you're communicating, you're kind of like debating in some senses. And then, and then
cool.
With Stab High, you have, the ladybirds, who are girls under 15. And so the ladybirds, you're not giving them below a certain number. You know what I mean? Because you're wanting them to
be stoked.
And to feel good. And and so then it's like all of a sudden your judging has to change, because like this one, if he doesn't make it, it's like a 0. Or if he does this and that, you're giving him a 0. But then the ladybirds
aren't getting zeros.
No, they're getting all like,
5 and above.
Well, it was between a 7 and a 9, basically.
No matter what, they're
So it's funny how the criteria had to change, and you're thinking about their emotional levels and their future, and their but then it was like, then they rip too, so you can't.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing good for where they're at. Yeah.
Well, no,
they're killing.
They're busting errors, big old errors, like a 12-year-old, 13, 14-year-old girl. And so then it's like you want to give them all 10s all the time. So
you want to stoke the girls up.
Well, yeah. So it's judging is a very interesting thing. I don't think they've got the right
formula.
Well, it's like, I feel like everyone's different. Like Stab High is Stab High, and that was the right formula. I feel like Natural Selection was cool with no numbers, and then
did
I
they
feel
have
like
video playback on Natural Selection.
Yeah, they did.
So,
but then I feel like the WSL, because once you become a judge or you start judging things, then you watch how and it's amazing how good the WSL does at their job.
I agree.
And so just being a sideliner, you're like, oh, they should have done this, they should have done that.
It's easy to say, but they do really well.
In how consistent they are,
incredible.
and like, you know, it's amazing.
It's amazing. What a gnarly job to have. I always say, like,
What a terrible job.
I know. I would never want to be a judge of surfing. Like, I would never want that job. But the people who do it, I got to say, I give them a lot of respect.
They're professionals.
It's gnarly. Like,
Yeah.
And you watch and you're like, rarely. I mean, I've seen a few over the history of time where I went, whoa. But I mean, in general, the level of where it's pretty tight, like the last one at Lowers, I didn't really see anything that made me go, whoa. Like, it was just really well judged, I thought. You know,
it
was really
an interesting profession.
And then we were talking about what Yago did, and then it came up because I was like, that was a moment in history. And then someone in the room brought up, I was watching it at Dino's house, and I was there with Rafi. You know Rafi from Puerto Rico, and we were watching with his son Sebastian, and we had a crew there. We were watching the finals, and I was just like, this guy just what just happened? Like, and then it was, I said it. I felt like it was an iconic moment. And then it was brought up in the same room that the Christian in 1989, the moment was as iconic as it gets as far as the sport before and after in that moment. And I feel like what Yago did still paled in comparison. It was brought up. We talked about it. That moment, what Christian did in 1989 at Lowers, I mean, I feel like it's a moment in the sport. I don't think anyone debates that. But what was also done by Yago, I think, was like a moment where we had to just go, whoa, this guy's, what's he, whoa.
Well, the greatest thing, too, is just watching the progression and seeing, you know, obviously I love to watch Three Turns to the Shore. I just feel like they've been doing that for a long time. They got it mastered, you know, and watching the guys on the rights, it's hard to say, like, oh, that's not great, because it is great. But when you're watching somebody just go into the air and do the turns and take, you know,
huge
20,
risks.
25 and huge risk and sticking it, it's hard to not think, like, wow, that's incredible. That's where the sport should be.
Yep.
But, you know, I really like Yago as a person. I know he skated a lot. Like, I was just at that Stab High in Japan, and Pedro Barros was there because he was a skater and he did this big air in the wave pool. But he was saying how he skated with Yago a bunch, and it really shows, you know. And
totally.
that's the one thing that you can just see, like, when somebody has that, like, kind of skateboard mentality or just the tricks or doing them proper. It's really cool to see where
you do see that influence. I feel like that's what Christian brought. I mean, he skated
100%.
You know,
yeah,
he just brought that, like that freedom to just look at a wave different.
But it's also like the consistency of the make, you know, where if the skateboarding gives you some sense of like proper execution.
Yeah. Because you got to make it more often.
Well,
you get hurt.
So.
You know, falling on water is a whole different thing than falling on a ramp or concrete or whatever. But yeah, I mean.
Well, also too in skateboarding, if you drag a toe, it's not a make. You know what I mean? Even though you rode away, you're just blown off to the side. It's like, okay you got to do that again. Like if you don't land perfect, like so. In skateboarding, if you see a trick and you're like, oh no way, the guy made it, they would never print that in Thrasher magazine if the guy didn't make it. So the standards are so high, you know, of like a make or a incomplete. And that's something where we started with flyaways and, you know, you could make a cover and just, I've been on the cover doing a toe at, you know, where it's like you're just getting towed in, flying and not making it. Are
we talking about that wave at Chopu?
No, I'm just saying a different one, but in the sense of like anything you look at in a Thrasher magazine is guaranteed made. It's not a question about it. They would never put that in print. Where we've slowly gotten there, but our progression's so much slower because the size of our board, all these elements of nature, and they all factor in. So it's kind of like a slow progress with surfing, whereas skateboarding, it went a long time ago to where you would never see something that wasn't made. It would never be published, even if it's this one still frame.
They wouldn't do it.
They just wouldn't do it.
There's no respect for it.
And so it's kind of like now surfing's gotten that crazy to where we can be like that.
Gosh, I mean, he sticks. Yago, speaking of Yago, he sticks a lot of that. His consistency is incredible.
It's just out of this world.
It's out of this world. I mean,
but there's a few of them.
Yep. Not just
there's a clip of Yago from the wave pool, and it's like 8 minutes of Yago at the wave pool. I forget what the name of the thing is, or it's another YouTube You know what I mean? Educational video.
Totally.
But the stuff that he's making and how he's grabbed, even, you know, like Noah, like the stuff you see these guys do consistently is just out of this world.
It really is.
Yeah,
We're watching the sport before our very eyes become incredibly light years. It's just light years.
Light years.
It's light years.
And now that they're getting these pools dialed and they're going to make more pools and people are getting more repetition and
Yep.
that's really
It's a skate ramp on the water.
yeah, but
know?
we never have seen that, and we've never had the ability to have repetition. It's like you
practice
might
like
get
that,
you might get one section here, one section there, and you're just doing whatever. Because surfing is all about doing what the wave lets you do.
Yep.
You know, where now that they have an air section in a pool and you can go get 50 tries in a day.
That's incredible for the sport.
And that's why it's like not really considered a make in the pool because of that. So that's a whole nother topic.
Okay. The pool aspect is really changing things. And do you think there's going to be a day when there's actually a proper, say, like 4 to 5 foot Hawaiian wave in a wave pool?
So the interesting thing when I talked to my dad and I showed him, I'm like, Dad, look at Kelly Slater's wave pool, you know, and it's just a right. And he's like, Nathan, the biggest waves in the world someday are going to be, the biggest waves people ride someday will be man-made. And I was like, that's interesting because he saw boards go from wood to foam and no wetsuits to wetsuits.
He's seen a lot.
And so
Herbie has seen a lot.
His first equation was that, so I was like, wow, that's an interesting way to look at Kelly Slater's wave pool. I didn't even think about that. You know, I just thought, wow, look at this barreling right offshore.
Yeah, but
perfect
pretty small.
wave.
I mean, it's, you know.
Yeah, head high.
Head
but
high.
perfect.
But you got to, like, get crouched down.
But
I mean, what if that was literally twice as big?
But for being the first time when you see it, that was
incredible.
Yeah. So we'll say twice as big, and then you're going to go to 3 times as big, and then you're going to, you know, so however they're going to generate.
Wow. How they're gonna, that's a lot of water to push around. And
so
all
I
that.
said that to Slater, and he said that'll never happen. It's too much energy.
Yeah.
But
that's
you
what
know,
I was thinking.
But
you
maybe
never know.
Slater hasn't seen as much as my dad. Maybe, you know, it's like.
He definitely hasn't seen as much as your dad.
Well, it's just,
Not
you
too
know,
many
but
peop-
he's
not too
worked
many
on,
people have.
he's worked on the pool, like, you know, and he knows logistically what it takes and all the, he has the educated guess. My dad has just the
feeling.
Yes. And so that's
an interesting thought to think that it could be that big one day, but I just want to see literally twice as big as Slater. Like if that it was Slater's wave, twice as big, just twice that big. To me, that would just
for
be
me
dropping into.
Yeah. Have you
God.
been? Because
I haven't been. No,
these
but
wave
I've seen
pools
it.
are just they're too fun. It's
I
like
haven't been to
it's
them.
ridiculous. But the other thing is
Well, I did one in Irvine. I did it on a TV show.
yeah,
The Irvine one.
Okay, well we're not going to count
terrible.
that. Yes, we're not going to count that.
You remember that one?
Of course.
Oh,
I had a broken arm and did a boogie board contest there. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
That thing's so, what was it called? Like, I don't know, whatever it was. I did a TV
Oasis
show and I
or
was,
Wet and Wild.
I was surfing in it and I quit the show as a result of writing that. I said, I can't do this.
Okay, speaking of quitting, I gotta go.
You got to go get the kids,
Yes,
mister.
I gotta go get the kids. It's
Okay.
8:30. We had an hour.
And we wrapped out, mister. Awesome,
I
Nathan.
feel like
Good
we were
for
just
coming.
getting started.
I know. That's what I was just going to say. You know what? We could talk for hours. We barely touched whatever we would touch, but I'm super stoked we did. And I want to thank you for coming to my show. And anytime you're in town, if you want to wrap out more, I'd be super stoked on that because
Thank you for having me.
talk to the doctor.
Yeah, he's been saying talk to the doctor my whole life too. So this isn't something that he just came up with.
You know, I didn't. And Hammy brought it up to me, and that's how we named the show because he's like, I was doing a talk show, and he goes, is that called Talk to the Doctor? And I had a moment. I went, oh, my God, what am I doing? Of course, I have a show called, and then we created Talk to the Doctor.
You are a talk show.
Absolutely. Well, good to have you, mister. Awesome. And
yeah,
good to
he's
have you.
still all ripped and looked great. This guy's never stopped. See, you brought it from the pier. Now we lit it up and got some cameras on the conversation because he
Exactly.
would go do this naturally. This was his deal.